perception around the country, but engage with open minds and eagerness to invest. That's a very good call to action, very sober.
Very.
Eagerness to invest. So that is coming to a close. That's on our news fix.
Right. Are we quoting? We're quoting.
Quote.
Or are we going to questions?
Quote.
Okay, quote.
Thank you, Maria. Maria was trying to acquire me. She was just like sitting here two discussions.
But how we do it is first we welcome Robert into the
Yes.
show. Robert Ingasira, the acting CEO of the Social Health Authority. Asante sana for joining us today. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
We call this Fixing the Nation, where broadcast meets podcasts and also broadcast meets XSpace. So we're having a conversation live on XSpaces, and we're here in the studio, and we'll also be picking calls so people can join in and give us the experience with SHA. And we hope that by the end of this, you'll have answered many people's direct questions and concerns. You'll address people's concerns, and I hope that you have a team as well on the other end.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Me, together with my team, will be able to do that job and make sure that Kenyans understand us very well.
Yeah, that's why we're here. So the quote that we are talking about is this girl. She's called Janowama Quotes. She gives us quotable quotes every day. So she'll give us a hint of who said a certain number of words, a certain quote, and then she'll ask us who said that, and let's try and guess. But the most important thing is the words. It's not the person.
Absolutely. So this person was a South African anti-apartheid activist. He was at the forefront of the grassroots anti-apartheid campaign known as the Black Consciousness Movement during the late 1960s and 1970s. His ideas have been articulated in a series of articles published. He was a very vocal freedom rights liberator. This is what he said: the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
The most potent person.
The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Because as long as they stay oppressed, that can be weaponized over and over again. A South African freedom fighter, 60s, 70s. Who said that? Do we have any ideas?
Any guess? It was in the 60s and 70s.
60s and 70s.
South Africa.
In South Africa, one of those. And, he did quite a bit. He died on the 12th of September, 1977.
Wow. Let me continue jogging my memory.
Yes, that's okay. We can.
Another hint?
That's one of the greatest sins. I think 1977 was after the Hector Peterson clashes, which were in 1976, which marked a very big milestone in the shift towards liberating South Africa from apartheid, because this young boy called Hector Peterson died. He was shot, and his image, you know, that image that shows you this is where the change happened, because the world saw for the first time, like, you're killing children. Sadly still happens, but that's not the point. But it was Stephen Biko. Stephen Biko said it. That's who said that. Yeah.
you at least you know the guy.
Now I know.
You know the guy.
Yes.
You know Steve Biko.
Yes, I know Biko.
Yeah, and those are very, very, very potent words as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So, what do they speak to you?
Thank you. So, Eric and team, thank you for having me around and listening to the quote. It really touches on what we are doing, that if the program we are implementing really does not work, then the people who will be left unhappy are the people we intend to serve. So that is a challenge to us. I think it is really telling us that we must up our game and ensure that those whom we are meant to serve are happy, so that what remains in their mind is a good memory rather than bitterness. Yeah.
Now we have having issues. The various people who are saying that they have encountered problems and challenges with the SHA. There are those who have said that it's working for them. They've seen it work. They have benefited from its services. And then there are others now, stakeholders, like the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, that have said, up to Monday, we are not going to accept any more people coming under SHA, because we have a hefty pending bill There's a conversation that has been happening the whole of this week between RUPA and the Ministry of Health and the Social Health Authority. Where are we at tonight, as of now, with these negotiations?
Thank you. Indeed, we have been having conversations with the RUFA and the other associations representing the healthcare providers. And you may wish to note that the main issue in this conversation is not really whether SHA is working or not. It's an issue of the old NHIF debt. So I think that is the first clarity I need to make, that the main issue here is amounts owed to healthcare providers by the old NHIF. And the hospital owners are saying that these amounts are really weighing down on them in terms of their cash flows. They are not able to pay their bills, pay their consultants, and that is really the main thing. The second issue that had been raised by these providers was the issue of the model we want to use for purposes of disbursing under the primary health care. So those were the two main issues that the providers had brought up. Yesterday, I personally was in a meeting that was discussing the same, and I think on the issue of the model, we have made a lot of progress, because it really required us to go into the details of how the model works and demonstrate that the providers are going to be fairly compensated for the work they are going to do. That, I think, we did, and we have achieved a lot. By the time we were ending the meeting, I could see the providers were now in a position not only to understand, but also to help us articulate the same. The issue that remains outstanding, although we are making a lot of progress in terms of dealing with it, is the issue of the NHIF debt. So the NHIF debt, yes, under NHIF, hospitals are owed some amounts. And the first thing we have agreed on with the providers is that we need to find a formula to reconcile and sign off, so that between ourselves and each of the providers, we go through our records and sign off. Why are we saying sign off? This debt, NHIF has had a long history with these providers, and the debts have been accrued over a long period of time. So in our relationship, for example, a bill might be forwarded to us. It is returned to the provider because of lack of certain information. So there is normally a back and forth, which is a normal thing within our operations with the providers. So the reconciliation we are talking about is, can we be able to clear such bills from wherever they are? We agree this one has now been fully supported, and it goes to add to the amounts we owe you. This one cannot be fully supported, so we return it to you, and maybe we agree that you will absorb it. So on that one, we are saying we still have some work to do, but largely is to agree. The first step is to agree on how much we owe the providers. The second thing is then to look for funds for purposes of now paying. Yeah, and for purposes of paying, we are making the providers aware that the government has committed to fund us so that we can be able to clear this debt. Maybe not in one go, but then we can be able to progressively clear this debt. But it is important that as we get into that phase, we are able to say with certainty that this is the amount that is owed.
The question, though, is there was a transition, and there was a proper transition even in law of how we shall transition from the national NHIF to the Social Health Authority. And it was clear that there was a period that was going to be transitioned, and all debts, liabilities were going to be transitioned into the Social Health Authority. So you are the one who owes them. This whole NHIF is the one, it's no longer the case. According to the law, you inherited the debts. And you inherited also the every other asset that they have. What was the plan between October 2023 and October 2024 in determining how much NHIF owed anybody?
Good. And I will still emphasize on one point, which I think Kenyans need to understand, that the main issue that we are discussing, or that is creating a bit of a misunderstanding between us and the providers, it's not the SHA system. It is the reason why the providers have withdrawn the services. It is not the SHA system. It is not inability of SHA to offer services. It is a debt that is owed to them.
Yes.
Now, you will also remember that when we transited on October 1st, we stopped offering NHIF services on 30th September and crossed into SHA on 1st of October. The providers have in their contracts 30 days within which to push their bills to us. Now, you will also remember during the NHIF regime, not everything was automated. Some of the information was being transmitted manually. So when we crossed on 1st of October, the providers had 30 days, so give them up to end of December 2024, a period within which they were to push their bills to us, so that we now accept them in the system, check whether they are fully supported, and then plan to pay. So what we are saying is, after 31st December, we have noted that there are some bills that were pushed for us, which might not be properly supported, and this is what we are discussing.
No, the question is...
Eric's question is, what was the plan?
Now,
in that
the plan, yes, thank you. Under NHIF, I need to bring to your attention that NHIF, over and above offering the national scheme, the law had allowed NHIF to offer what we call enhanced schemes. Enhanced schemes, an organization will approach us to offer a medical cover for its employees. We will agree on a premium, and then they would pay. So in that relation, what was happening is that we were procuring medical services on behalf of other organizations. So they would pay us premium, and then that amount is now pushed to the providers. So the plan was that, or the expectation was that we will be receiving money would be coming in, and then this is the same money we would use to pay for the services we have procured on behalf of these providers. Now, what could have happened is that we closed the period, yes, owing some of those providers, and of course also being owed by some of the people we provided, we bought healthcare services for. So what we are doing is just we are following up on those who owe us, so that we can also pay those whom we owe.
And in all this, of course, I'm sure it's not new to you. And I think the reason why even Eric and Mariam asked about the plan is that there's just been so many bottlenecks and hurdles. And in all of that, there is now a lack of access to services for patients. How are you balancing those two? Because I think the reason we even wanted to have this conversation is just the overflow of concerns from patients, from Kenyans, who, while they understand that there's some technicalities, they cannot access the services as they wish to. How are you deliberating on this? Some people are even saying, why don't you just go back to the initial system? That's a huge thing that's been said as well.
Yes. Now, the main issue now, if you realize, is that because we owe these providers, we have disturbed their cash flows. So what are we doing in the interim? One, I would wish to indicate that between 1st October and December last year, we were able to mobilize close to 9.1 billion, which we paid to the providers for purposes of reducing the debt we owe to them. So you can see during the rollout period, we have reduced the debt by a whole 9.1 billion. Number two, we appreciating that the issue is cash flow. We agreed that while the current contract provides for us to receive their claims within 90 days and plan to pay, we agreed that we fast track the payments so that we pay even much earlier and be able to release some cash flows to these providers. And this is where we are saying that as I sit here today, our payments to the providers, we are now at end of January. This is just to make sure that as we are working on the long-term solution of settling the debt, the providers have some cash flows, because the debt situation just restricts the cash flows. So if we are able to increase our remittances to them using the SHA, then we feel that that will ease the problem on their side as we find a lasting solution for the main issue.
You've reiterated several times that, these are NHIF debts, NHIF problems. SHA so far, so good. But even then, people still have very varied and mixed experiences. On Twitter, for example, George Achongo says, "Good morning. I'm George from Nairobi, a beneficiary of SHA. My son was sick for almost 2 weeks at Mama Margaret Kariobangi. SHA settled the bill of about 30,000. It worked for me." Fantastic. On the same XSpace, we have my experience with SHA was the worst. I was admitted to hospital at the start of the year. My bill was huge. They only paid 16K, leaving me with the rest to pay. Even after appealing, it was declined. Another similar one, mine refused to change from NHIF to SHA. Even Huduma Center couldn't help. I tried to transfer, but I was told some strange number that I don't even know had joined using my ID. There was another one of a specific figure of about 460. Yes, my monthly premiums are 2K and above. I had an emergency RX that they had to pay for 60, that I had to pay for 60K for, but what they contributed again was 16,000, another figure. So this is SHA now, not NHIF, and these are people's lived experience. And I know there'll be the temptation to say, could be it was not authorized, but there's too many of those cases coming out to dismiss as just like like a system failure, or not a system failure, like a one-on-one problem with like a healthcare provider or authorization. Yeah.
Yes, I wish to clarify that under SHA we have come up what we call a benefit package, and the benefit package is supported with a tariff. So these two, what do? They explain the service that you are likely to receive from a hospital and the amounts we will reimburse the hospital for that service. Now, these amounts vary from one service to another. Now, one of the things we have observed was that our allocation for ICU was not adequate. And this is where you find a situation. I want to imagine the situation like the where we paid 16,000 is one of those situations where we reimbursed the hospital or we committed to reimburse the hospital based on a rebate. If it's a level 6, then we are reimbursing 4,460, which has proved to be not sufficient, both to properly address the costs at the hospital and meet the expectations of the member. So this is one of the areas that has been singled out for immediate consideration. And as we are speaking here, there are plans to revise that figure upwards so that those who end up in ICU, where we know the bills are quite high, then the government can step in and be able to pay a little more than we have been paying. So that, in my opinion, will address the issue. Two, I also need to indicate that we designed the benefit. And now that we are implementing it, we are receiving feedback on what is working well and what is not working well. I can tell you for free, even from the provider side, that most of the surgeries were allocated adequate funding. An area that also maybe we have been made aware of that was not properly provided for was the area of outpatient, especially if you have been referred to a level 5, 6. When you get there, you need to encounter some outpatient. Yep. That was not provided for. And we are already in discussion to see how best can we accommodate that in our funding arrangement. So it is true that as we are implementing, we are realizing some gaps, but what is happening, we are also proactively trying to find how best we can address that.
Another biggest issue here, but acting CEO, is communication, right? So you are transacting with the system as you roll, but we don't know that. As far as we know, we have transitioned from NHIF into SHA. As far as Christina knows, she was expecting that she goes into hospital, she's admitted, and SHA would pay.
Yes.
Now, when SHA does not pay, that's her experience with SHA. If SHA only pays 16,000 shillings, that's her experience. Now, the fact that, there's now conversations going on how to see whether we can change this, her experience with SHA is already horrible. I want to bring in, before we go to a break, and I think, before we go to a break, let's bring in the CEO of the Kenya Health Care Federation, which brings in all these actors in healthcare. It brings in the doctors, it brings in the facilities and all. Dr. Tim Theuri. Dr. Tim Theuri, I think you have the mic and you've been given the mic to speak. Speak to the acting CEO. What are the issues that specifically the industry of healthcare providers is having with the Social Health Authority? What's working, what's not working? Briefly, in about 2 minutes, Dr. Theuri.
Morning, everyone. My name is Theuri, just like I've been introduced. I come from Kenya Healthcare Federation, where we oversee the private sector healthcare ecosystem, spanning across the entire value chain. Robert is a good friend, and the meeting he was in yesterday, I also participated in it. And as providers, I think the parity, in terms of parity of care, we are seeing nearly 50-50 in terms of ratios between the private sector and the public side. But in terms of proficiency in claim submission and completion, I'd want to say that the private sector is slightly ahead on that. The hue and cry that you had the last 1 week is basically a cash flow problem. And when you look at how money flows in health, it's most of our businesses are SMEs, nearly 80% of them, and prolonged credit periods are their worst enemy. Therefore, the debt that is owed by SHA, I will say by SHA because they inherited that debt, is something that they should be keen on clearing. And I dare say that the buck stops at Mbadi's office. That is our Treasury CS. The reason I say that is because the biggest defaulters have been state departments of government and government agencies when it comes to remittance of contributions to SHA. And that gives Ingasira a tough job, if I may say so. So what I'm saying is we need to capitalize the sector well, and we need to capitalize it through ensuring that SHA has proper cash flows. And where does SHA get its money? It gets its money from two places, contributions by Kenyans like you and I, and the second place is through exchequer funding. And the latter has been the bigger problem. And because of that, the first impact that happens when health is poorly capitalized is quality of care goes down. That can no longer be reliable, and it's something that remains of concern. And when that happens, the second thing you're faced with is whereas it's a business that has an obligation not only to your shareholders but also to the people you're serving, because if quality is bound to go down because of cash flows, then you're faced with a choice: do I close? Do I continue? If you continue and something is to happen, then that's a life that you've impacted. In our sector, when mistakes happen, they go to the grave. People lose their lives, and the impact is dire. So that is why it is important to ensure that this happens. It's a case of even as we are tackling, it's a case of I may have a bag of maize that has 50 million grains in it. I could give each Kenyan and we all die of hunger, or I could apportion the vulnerable groups first. And we can say, maybe Eric, you are 7 days away from death, so we will feed you on the 6th day. So is it time we have a conversation on how do we apportion what we have so that it can be efficient, so that it can be efficient fast.
Thank you, Dr. Terry.
Final point, my final point on this is my obligation is to report is to be factual, not to report the positive stories only. And I have received messages from providers who have said I have been paid all my obligations by all what is owed to me by SHA up to January. And then we do have cases of those who are saying that I have seen sporadic payments, and then there are those who are saying that I have not received up to my expectation. We are working with they're also working on it as they roll out. So there are some hitches in there. The thing is, we are asking to be involved because disputes do not happen because of disagreements, but because of information asymmetry. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tim Theuri, the CEO of the Kenya Healthcare Federation, giving the other side of what's happening, from the service providers side. We also have more service providers who will be joining us, the Kenya Medical Association, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association as well. We'll give you the feedback, plus all this feedback from the citizens. What's your experience with SHA so far? Have you gone to a health facility? Have you been served seamlessly? Have you not been served seamlessly? So time for that break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Please don't go anywhere. We are live on XSpaces on NTV Kenya, and we are live on NTV, on Nation FM, on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram as well.
What's up, nation? My name is Judith. I am at Enosidan Primary School, Majimoto, Narosura Ward, Narok County. We started with this kind of classrooms, and now we've upgraded to this. With the help of our leaders, I am fixing the nation by bringing schools closer to our children.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaac Miruri from Nairobi. And I'm urging all the Gen Zs and millennials to come together with their generational unique issues for a common effort and a common objective of a future solution.
What's up, nation? This is Mahmoud Ali, Mohammed Reza Jagani from Watamu right now. I was just watching your program about the 15 billion trees target. It reminds me to add value. Please run a search on hashtag April Cool Day. This is a globe narrative changing concept that can help take this movement forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sending us the videos on WhatsApp Nation, and we want to get your videos and your views on WhatsApp Nation. In fact, as we're talking about fixing health, just give us your own experience as well in the next WhatsApp Nation videos. Tell us, my name is so-and-so, this is where I am, and this is my experience with the Social Health Authority. I went to a facility, I was sorted, or I've had somebody who went to a facility and they were not sorted, and these were the issues. Let's also share that as well and see how do we fix it. How do you send a video?
You send a video. Judith today, I think, has been our star video sender. That's what we can be doing, is awarding them. Landscape, just like she did. She said, my name is Judith. She talked about, I missed the place and I was writing it down. She said, this is where I am. We're upgrading our classrooms. This is where we've come from. This is what we have now. And we're fixing the nation that way. So just landscape mode. Tell us your name, where you are, what you're fixing. To Eric's point, because of this conversation around healthcare, what is happening around you? How are you accessing health services? Are you struggling to do so? Let us know. The number is 0112 500 400. You can just send those anytime, any day. We compile them and put them out every single day, once every hour. So please send those, keep them coming.
All right, we're about to get on call with Teresa Wairimu, who is the mother to baby Arriana Wairimu. I think a lot of us saw her story. She was battling a very rare genetic disorder, and she ended up going to India for treatment, and unfortunately she passed on. And we want to speak to Arriana's mom, Teresa, and also get her side of the story, what role NHIF then and SHA played as far as her healthcare was concerned in the case of a young girl suffering from a really extremely rare disorder that was also extremely expensive, and to hear from her story. But first, Mama Arriana, Teresa, karibu sana. Can you hear us? We're good?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
Asante sana. Kwanza wacha tuseme pole sana for the loss of baby Arriana. I think we were all rooting for her, lakini pole sana. You fought really, really hard. And I'm really, really sorry for your loss. We just want to extend our sympathies, Kwanza.
Thank you.
Takuuliza, how much did SHA or SHA pay out of the bill that you had after taking baby Arriana all the way to India? SHA ililipa how much?
For the treatment in India, there is no money that was paid towards her treatment, because we went there on 15th of May last year. And before we went to India, we had already notified NHIF about the treatment plan, but we were not able to get the GOP in good time. It came on 20th of July 2024. But the unfortunate bit is that the hospital would not accept the GOP because they cited challenges with NHIF due to the debts that were outstanding as at that time. And they said some of the debt was outstanding for more than a year. So they requested us to source for funds. We pay out of pocket, and we could then claim a reimbursement from NHIF. So we purely relied on well-wishers to ensure that Arriana went through the entire treatment, and we spent over 8 million, which all came from friends, family, and well-wishers. But I remember there is a time that came in October when things became way difficult. We were not able to raise money for a test that needed to be done, because that is the time Arriana was diagnosed with GVHD. And thanks to the Nation Media Group, one of your reporters, Leon Ndung'u, had actually highlighted the case. And he had highlighted the case several times. I think he had done about 7 articles. And that is when the Kenyans were trying to raise money to cater for that particular test. So after the case was highlighted, Mr. Ibrahim from SHA called me and requested for all the invoices that I had and the receipts as at that date. So on 15th of October, I sent to him all the receipts and all the invoices that were outstanding. And through a message, he assured me that he is going to look into the issue so that we can have the money paid to the hospital, and then I would follow up with the hospital for reimbursement, because NHIF doesn't have a policy where they can reimburse an individual. And because the matter was a bit critical and that test could not wait, I was really hoping that they would come through for us, because what we were looking for from their end was about 500,000 Kenyan shillings, and but that didn't happen. So we continued to plead from the Kenyans to come through for us. Fortunately, Arriana went through the entire process, and she recovered, and we were released back to Kenya on 15th of November last year. So for the entire period, she has been okay. And personally, as a contributor of NHIF, I've contributed from 2013, so that is about 11 years down the line. And I felt kind of let down because they didn't come through for me when I needed them most. So when I came here, I realized I had to register to SHA afresh and make fresh payments so that I could add Arriana as a beneficiary, because I knew there were so many tests that we still needed to do on a monthly basis. Actually, per month, we used to spend like 40,000 for her checkups. And the private cover that I had already exhausted, because I had gotten it through my employment, and at some point I lost my job because I had to take a break, take care of that girl, and I've been away for quite some time. So in this case, I registered for SHA and I paid 10,200 so that she could now start benefiting from it. And it's quite unfortunate that she got unwell. And we've been escalated quite fast, because we were hospitalized for just 1 week. And within that week, the bill had really accumulated. And within that period, the only thing that SHA paid was 23,600 out of the total outstanding bill. So even now, as we speak, we are not able to proceed with burial arrangements because I still have a huge bill outstanding that I need to settle with the hospital before we make any move. And because the CEO is there, my plea is now that Arriana was entitled to the 500,000 due to the contributions I had made over the years, can you prioritize the release of that money? Because I believe it will come in hand to help us reduce the bill, even as we plead with Kenyans to help us raise the rest of the money. And considering the journey that we have been through, I'm talking about over a year I've not been working. So it's really difficult even to sustain ourselves.
Yeah.
We are purely pleading with well-wishers. So if you can at least come through for us, release that money so that we can channel it to the hospital bill payments. Then to the rest of the Kenyans, we are still using the same pay bill we were using. You also chip in where you can so that we can be able to play this girl and she can rest in peace.
Mama Arriana, thank you for sharing this story. What is the outstanding bill as at present?
Currently, it's around 1.2.
1.2 million.
Yes, and your budget is around...
Cumulatively, how much has NHIF and SHA paid?
Only 23,600.
Okay, so the CEO is here.
Yes.
Let him respond to you. Just stay on the line, listen to CEO. This is somebody who was on NHIF. The NHIF was aware. She was contributing. After the transition into SHA, they have been contributing. And now the issue here is how much was baby Arriana entitled to and how much has she gotten? Is that fair?
Yeah, thank you. And first is to say pole sana to Mama baby Arriana, and two, to say really my apologies for the back and forth you have suffered. Really, this has been an issue of miscommunication between us and the hospital in India that was offering this service. The miscommunication came in at some point when we were ready to pay the hospital, but the hospital wrote to us and indicated that the bill had been settled. So they wrote
to you?
Yes, they communicated to us and said...
In writing?
Yes, that the bill...
Was Mama Arriana copied in that communication?
I need to check, but I saw the communication. And you see, what happens is that for purposes of foreign treatment, we issue a guarantee of payment. Then the service is offered, the hospital will invoice. After it invoices, then we pay. So when we followed up with the hospital so that they could give us an invoice, they indicated that the patient, the family had already settled the bill, and therefore they were not going to invoice.
Settled which bill? The 1.2?
No. The bill of the 500.
The 500,000
she's
that you
talking out
that
she was expecting us to pay as part of our contribution. So the hospital could not invoice, and therefore we were not able to pay them. But then maybe just to cut the long story short and speak to her request is that yes, we have heard you, and soon after this we can reach out to you and be able to see how to facilitate the disbursement of that money to them, because the hospital has given us confirmation that the family paid the bill. So we can't pay the hospital as it would have been required. Now, because there is evidence that they paid, then we can consider and release the money to them.
Okay. So now it's just reimbursing their family for what they paid.
Yes.
But that's 500,000. The outstanding bill is 1 point what, Mama Arriana?
Around 1.2.
Yeah, it's 1.2.
Yes. The 1.2 vis-a-vis what we paid, it's the issue I had earlier hinted on, that the gap between what our benefits package today speaks of and the actual bills that are being incurred in hospitals. So this is where I had said that plans are at an advanced stage to review that allocation.
Mama Arriana, just before you go, I'm wondering, we covered this story a few days ago on the Daily Nation. I'm finding it odd that it's taken us having a physical presence to follow up. Mama Arriana, I know we honored our baby Arriana and covered your story. Since it was published, had you made any other attempts to reach out for your claims, or is this the first time that we've been able to bring you together to then speak with the CEO? Had you made any other attempts since the publication of the article?
Before then, I had written a number of emails to, there's a lady called Jemima who helped us acquire the GOP. But now it reached a point where the emails were never responded to. I was in communication with Mr. Ibrahim. It reached a point he stopped picking my calls. At some point, I have attempted to contact Mr. Kimtai. I have sent him several emails. Not emails, but several messages, also on WhatsApp. But now, it reached a point where I actually gave up because everybody I was talking to, nobody was offering a solution. And maybe something to highlight for you guys to understand. You see, the hospital was so mindful about their relationship with NHIF. So they were not able to come out clear and say that we rejected the GOP because of the outstanding bills. So what they did, they communicated to us, to me as the caregiver, and told me, look, we cannot accept your GOP because your institution has been doing 1, 2, 3. And the relationship is purely between you and the NHIF. So all we want is for you guys to look for money and settle the bills to make sure that there is continuity for as far as treatment is concerned, and then you are left following up with NHIF. I saw that email that was written from NHIF directed to the hospital, and when they requested for an explanation why they didn't accept the GOP, they threw the case back to us, like the parents were willing to pay in cash. Not forgetting, this cash was actually coming from well-wishers. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think this is an issue that, it's a back and forth. There's a pending bill. There is a baby who's passed on, unfortunately and sadly, and the mom is here. She cannot bury the baby, and what goes on. The senior advisor to the president, Moses Kuria, is on the line and says he wants to also respond and speak to Mama Arriana. Moses Kuria, you have the mic. Speak to Mama Arriana and just directly respond to, this is an issue. There's 1.2 million shillings bill that ought to have been paid, hasn't been paid. They are not able to bury the child. What happens next?
Thank you, Eric. First of all, my sincere condolences to Mama Arriana. And to tell you that, first of all, irrespective of SHA, irrespective of NHIF, as a Kenyan and as a government, we will stand with you. That's my first point. Irrespective of what happened, who is to blame, who is at fault, to assure you that we will assist you and will support you as a government of Kenya to give baby Arriana a decent send-off. But I have got some questions. The first question is, because the hospital in India did indicate that the family was willing to pay, did you or did you not get that communication?
Well, yes, I got that email. As they were responding to NHIF, I was copied.
Yeah. Very good, excellent. So you did understand that NHIF, the hands were tied. They were tied by the fact that you cannot pay for someone who is saying, don't pay me. NHIF cannot pay by force. The hospital has said clearly, please don't pay me because the family has paid me. My question is, did you or did you not as a family pay? Did you or did you not as a family pay the hospital?
Honorable Kuria, I think
when I had a conversation with Mr. Ibrahim, he explained to me clearly that NHIF doesn't have a policy where they can reimburse money to individuals directly, but he offered to look into the issue whereby they were willing to deposit the money to the hospital's account so that I would follow up for reimbursement from the hospital. But now what transpired
so the issue is here, you have paid already, Mariana. You have paid the money already. Okay, your money paid the money for the hospital. And you are saying now, don't pay the hospital because I've already paid. Please reimburse me. That would be a little bit tricky, because if everybody would go pay the money to the hospital and come and tell, because I've already paid, now you pay, give me back my money to put me in the pocket. That would really put NHIF or SHA or anyone or any insurance company in an awkward position. And I'm saying this because I've been a patient who has been hospitalized. I know the pain. I know what you mean. I know sometimes the agony. I understand why you went out of the way to actually pay the money to the hospital. But now, that one we are with you 200%. The one we don't have concurrency, and I don't even know why Ibrahim did not tell you what I'm telling you now is, once the hospital say you cannot pay me, our hands are totally tied. We have there's no way.
Honorable Kuria, we'd like to interject.
Yeah, so one, I think it's quite, I don't know, displeasing, I don't know, in bad taste to go after Mama Arriana when these were her only options that she had at the time. The baby had... No, let me finish. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish. Honorable Kuria, allow me to finish my statement.
Look at the fact. Not because of Mama Arriana. Not because of Mama Arriana. We are here because of other Mama Arrianas in this world, so that people get to know exactly what is happening.
You need to let me finish my statement.
Let me back this, because you called us here today so that we get into the bottom of the matter. Look at the facts so that tomorrow...
You can't be speaking over people. Honorable Kuria, you can't be speaking over me. I'm trying to finish my statement, then you can continue with yours. My point was, it is unfair to go after her for the options that she had presented. There's also a very big fact you're ignoring, which is that the hospital in India did not want to take the guarantee of payment from NHIF because they have previous issues of non-payment. That was the reason. So I think it's very unfair to go after her as opposed to looking at the structural issue, which is, why didn't this hospital in India believe in the guarantee of payment from NHIF? Why did she have to go out of pocket, or well wishes, etc.? If it's an issue, or it's the issue of we can't reimburse an individual, etc., it's already been done. That can be dealt with after. You sit in a position where you can address things from a structural perspective, not from a administrative perspective. I think it's quite unfair to go after that as opposed to factual, Janet,
that factual is you listen to the fact also.
Yes,
I agree with you. That fact is also you listen to the fact from the other side. And this program is not a government. This scheme is not a government scheme. It's a scheme for all of us, the people of Kenya, you and included, our families included. So it is very important that every case that comes our way, we use it to get to the bottom of the matter. Factually, and I like your choice of words, factually, not emotionally. I'll deviate from that. I'll go to my question now, not to Mama Arriana, but to the people in SHA who are in this call. Is it the policy of, even forget about SHA, let's go back even to NHIF, is payment for treatment out of country a guarantee? Is everybody who is a member guaranteed of payment out of the country, or what is the policy? Because I think that is important, that is not coming out. Okay. So maybe if the SHA people can assist us.
I don't know if we still have Mama Arriana on the phone. First, Honorable Kuria, that was my colleague Mariam. It wasn't me, it's Janet. But also, I think in the same spirit, it's important to extend empathy. I think more from what Mariam was alluding to is the fact that this is somebody who's grieving and who's asking questions that a lot of Kenyans have. So I think when we're having these conversations, in as much as they're emotive and in as much as we need to get to the truth, please let's also just extend a bit of empathy for a system that is confusing so many Kenyans. But that said, I'll have
Janet, and I've told that lady we are even going to start with her as a government. But the reason she's on this call is not for empathy. She's on this call to help us to ensure that we unravel this matter so that it doesn't happen to anybody else in the future.
Okay.
So what support is this that you're offering on behalf of the government? Are you going to settle the 1.2 million shillings bill? Because that's her current pain point. and she needs that bill sorted out.
Eric, this is not an entitlement from government. I will get in touch with you. We'll see what can be done, and I will get in touch with you and tell you what can be done.
She needs
that
the guarantees.
My offer on behalf of the government, okay? Or even as a Kenyan, forget about government. Okay. I'm speaking as a Kenyan. Let's not get dwell there, because you know it's not a force. It's not something we have to do mandatory.
We're at the top of the hour. Let's drop the call. Kenyan, we're at the top of the hour.
Okay. Moses, thank you. So Moses has contradicted. He said there's an offer here for government on behalf of the government, and you had said, when acting CEO, that you are looking at the fact that they had paid and you're looking to reimburse. Does that position stand as SHA? Is SHA looking to reimburse the 500,000 shillings that the family had paid? Is SHA looking to working with Mama Arriana to settle the outstanding debt?
Eric, I want to agree with you. You have said the pain point here is the bill. So if Senior Advisor Moses comes in to help settle the bill, then the issue will have been resolved. So, but SHA will still be available to engage with the baby Arriana and make sure that if there is support we can give her, we give her. But I am very happy for the offer Senior Advisor Moses has given. I will equally follow up with him, because it's a person I talk to and see what he has on the table. But I just want to emphasize that my promise as the acting CEO of SHA to engage Mama Arriana and deal with that issue remains.
Do you have her number?
Gosh. Okay.
I will get the number from you.
So, Mama Arriana, you have been in contact with all these people at SHA, and now the acting CEO is here and he says, let's engage directly. But before we just drop this call and even move to the top of the hour, I want a specific commitment here. What is the commitment that the Social Health Authority is giving from your operational policies, from what you're doing right now, the fact that you're aware of this particular case? What is the commitment? Are we going to sort the bill? Are we going to foot the bill? Are we going to have a conversation to put partially the bill? What is it?
What I need to also clarify, Eric, is that as SHA, it's not the commitment is not on the bill. The commitment was on what we had offered to pay when the patient was in India, the guarantee of payment we had issued to the hospital in India, which is her entitlement. Where unfortunately it is lower than the bill, but I think it is something that can also help relieve the pain.
Okay, is that good enough, Mama Arriana?
Yes, that will be fair enough. And maybe for the other patients out there, I think my question is, at what time will our institutions stand for Kenyans? Because if you ask me, when I didn't have the money, the doctors tried the best they could to ensure the baby was treated, as the well-wishers came through for her to settle the bills later. But the question is, where was the government? Where was NHIF? At what point do you come through for your people? Because Kenya is our nation, and we can't run to other nations to seek help.
Good point there. Thank you very much. Let's take a break. This conversation continues. We are talking about the shift from NHIF to SHA, the pain points, what's working, what's not working. Let's get your experience. We are live on XSpaces and on NTV Kenya. We are also live on Nation FM, on NTV, on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And we are seeing very many comments. In the next hour, we want to get more of your feedback. The CEO of the Social Health Authority, acting CEO, is here. We have a team that's also from the Social Health Authority that's online. And I can see they're responding to many of the queries that are being raised on the X space. So you can go there, post your comment, post your concern, let them respond. Let us pick it up as well here and see how we can respond to them. Many more people coming up after this break. XSpace on NTV, XSpace on Nation FM, XSpace on YouTube, XSpace on Facebook, XSpace on Instagram. It's where broadcast meets podcast. This is what we're having, Fixing the Nation. And today we are fixing the Social Health Authority, understanding what the pain points are, what's working, what's not working. We have the acting CEO of the Social Health Authority with us in the studio. We have other people who are willing and here to speak joining us on the XSpaces. The Social Health Authority account is responding to your questions on the XSpace. Go in there, post your concern, and tell them directly. Let them pick it up and let them address. Some of them will be able to rate them here on air and they can be addressed. And some of them will pick calls and they can be addressed as well. People who are online, we've got the leadership of the Union of Clinical Officers. We've got the leadership of the Kenya Medical Association. We have the chairman of the Social Health Authority as well is online. We have the leadership of the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association. And all of them are here to respond and also raise their issues and concerns. We begin the hour with our news fix. What's happening, Janet?
Something that can uplift us somewhat. I think I love the energy that Nation has, which is around fixing conversations, fixing industries. And so NTV on the Road Mjengo edition kicks off today. Now, this is what it says, that we've brought to you NTV on the Road, County Edition, where from Friday to Sunday we anchor news bulletins and produce stories from a given county to enable you to have greater insight into them. Now we're widening our approach and narrowing down to sectors, industries, and other themes. This time, not limited to the geographical parameters of a county. And our first of these issue-based editions is on the real estate space, and we are calling it NTV on the Road Mjengo edition. We'll tell stories of the different facets of this sector from different counties, special reports, insights and experiences, stories of lives and livelihoods, and the broader ecosystem. So the news bulletin will be hosted, as well as Gumzo Lasato from Mjengo sites and other places that embody this theme. So the anchors, Frida Mwaka, Lofty, and Dan Wangi will be in Mjengo type attire. I cannot wait to see that as they read the news. Stuff you'll only see here on NTV. True story. You'll only see it here, where we just kind of push that barrier and go on the ground. I'm really excited about this, from industry to industry. So, yeah, that kicks off today.
Ooh.
Asante sana.
Watu wako wengi kwa Twitter.
What are they asking? What are the questions that are coming up?
Great question here, and it picks up from our conversation with Peter, the CEO, of course, for the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Yes.
Yeah, Peterson.
Yes. Why is SHA hijacked by KMPDC, limiting procedure approval to one cadre? Yeah. Mr. CEO, SHA. Does it even make sense?
Yes, thank you. And it's good that Peter is raising that issue.
No, it was someone called True Millennial, but Peter was here previously and raised the same. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, yes, previously we had an arrangement, and when we transited into SHA, we had agreed that for the time being, KMPDC was to do the accreditation of the facilities for purposes of empanelment and contracting by ourselves. But then the other regulators raised issues. One of the people who raised issues was the body that represents the clinical officers. And this was discussed and agreed that we allow them to empanel and give us the names for purposes of being allowed system rights and to be able to offer services that they are able to offer within SHA. And I wish to state here that that has since been done. We received a list of facilities that were empaneled by the Clinical Officers Council. These facilities have already been recognized in the SHA system. They are contracting. We are now at a stage where we are looking at the individuals, the professionals within their cadre. And as we speak, I am aware that the Clinical Officers Council is preparing a list of the specialists within that cadre for purposes of giving it to us. And where applicable, we will be able to allow them to use the system for purposes of healthcare. But I also need to indicate that when we started the rollout, we had a lot of requirements for pre-authorizations, and those requirements have largely been removed. So it is not true that every other professional, when you want to, before you offering a service to a patient who has come to the hospital, that you will seek pre-authorization. The the system as it is. And this was done to bring in efficiency, because if you remember at the beginning, most of the patients were complaining about pre-authorizations.
Yep.
So these were automated, and really it is not a human intervention issue. So the clinical officers for their facilities, they are already in the system, and for the individuals, I think they are able to offer a lot of services today without having any challenges.
So why are the clinical officers on strike?
I really wouldn't be in a position to tell, but then
Have you had a conversation with them? Because among the issues that they are raising is the issue of empanelment, and then also getting the authorization onto the SHA system. Have you engaged with the Clinical Officers Council and also the Clinical Officers Union?
Now, from where we sit as a regulator, we have been having engagements with the council. The council is the recognized body for purposes of engaging with us. So we have engaged them. They are the ones who gave us the details, the names of the facilities they have empaneled for purposes of contracting. And that I can confidently confirm that has been done. Now, the stage at which we are is for them to give us the other lists of the professions there within that cadre of the clinical officers, so that where it is necessary for them to be recognized within our system, it will be done. What I know is that the Clinical Officers Council was cleaning the list so that they give us an updated list. So that, to me, is the only issue remaining within our discussions.
Peterson Wachira, who is a national chairman of the union, will speak to us shortly, but we have a call on the line.
Right, we do. This is another critical perspective, which is from the medical practitioner. We have Jane Waniki from Embu. Jane, thank you for joining the conversation. Your observations, your solutions, talk to us.
Thank you so much, NTV. I appreciate. My major concern is about SHA. When we bring patients to hospital, there is something we call basic investigations. And before we make any diagnosis on a patient, we must be able to put our basic investigations in order so that they will guide us on the kind of illness that we are dealing with. But the challenge we are having is that I will give a practical example. A mother comes with a lump on the breast. What I require from that person is an FNA, something we call fine needle aspirate, for me to remove a small piece of muscle, take it to the laboratory, and I identify whether it is a cancer or it is just any other ordinary lump. The challenge is this SHA does not cover that basic particular investigation. And so what we are doing to our patients, we are sending them back home to go and look for money. I am talking of an elderly lady who has nothing. She cannot even afford a meal in a day. The SHA cannot pay for these basic investigations. And she has come to me with a breast lump, but with difficulties in breathing. So I also need a CT scan of the chest or an X-ray of the chest that is not covered by SHA or SHIF until I take that patient to the ward. It is not all patients that we take directly to the ward. We first of all need basic investigations. My plea with SHA, with urgency that it requires, we need a change on that particular closure of basic investigation coverage by SHA.
Dr. If I might just ask you,
yes,
in what level of facility do you operate? Are you in level 4, 5?
As a medical practitioner, I can be in any level.
And it's in all levels
because
where...
I deal with, mainly I'm basically in the community.
Yeah.
That is where my main work is, and that is where we are getting the real research of what is happening in the facilities.
Okay.
Because these patients are coming back to us telling us that, yes, you sent me to a facility, but I've been told to do these investigations, and I've been told they are not covered by SHA and SHIF. So they are back in the community with no investigations, yet they have the SHA and the SHIF. And as doctors, we cannot take all patients to the ward directly.
Of course.
We first of all have to have a diagnosis through proper investigation.
Daktari, hold on the line. Your contemporary doctor, Dr. Abdi Mohammed, is the chairman of the Social Health Authority. He's on the XSpace. Dr. Mohammed, respond to this issue. I mean, we touched on it the last time when you were here, Dr. Mohammed. So what is the concern being raised here and why is it such a big concern?
Thank you very much, Latif, and thank you to the viewers and listeners. I think there is a lot of misunderstanding of the benefits and tariffs, which is a weakness on our end, not to have educated both the providers and the patients. If you remember the last time I told you this is a document that we have published, but clearly publishing alone is not enough and we need to go around and explain. So imaging is covered. More so, it's covered both under hematology and oncology services package. It's also covered under medical imaging and other investigations. If you look at it has CT scan paid for at 6,900. It has MRI paid at 11,000. It has fluoroscopy paid at 4,000. It has mammography paid at 3,000.
Okay, hold on, Daktari.
Meaning, it's just the understanding is.
Dr. Abdi, I want you to hold on so that you can hear from the doctor as she's saying.
What's missing?
What is
the
issue that she is raising? And maybe Dr. Inembu, you can speak again.
Yes.
Is he responding to your issue?
No, he is not, because as I'm speaking to you right now,
yep,
I can even send you an investigation of a patient who has been sent home to go and buy an FNA needle because SHA is not covering that. Secondly, we don't have any MRI that is done with 11,000. These people are still going back to their pocket. And most of the MRIs in health facilities are not functional. So where do you expect these patients to go at the end of the day? We must be able even to have a plan of options. And that is why the private hospitals have come up, because most of the private hospitals are functioning. So why don't you do proper networking with the private facilities? And right now they are in war with you. So we, honestly speaking, send people like us, call us in the meetings as we are with the people on the ground. We will give you the real problems which are here. There is no MRI that you do with 11,000 in this country. And I would like you to refer me to that facility that is doing MRI with 11,000 that you are covering. Most of the CT scans, except in the home facilities, in private it's more than 6,000. So where do you expect these patients to go at the end of the day? Most hospitals have no equipment. Infrastructure is poor, both human, pharmaceutical, non-pharmaceuticals. Human resource is a huge challenge. And then the referral system that you have given us is very tedious. You tell somebody who has SHA and she cannot be seen in a level 5 facility, is a diabetic patient, is hypertensive. You have brought to them from being seen where specialists for diabetes and hypertension are. Then what we are dealing with in the next 2 years, we are going to have our dialysis centers full of patients with renal failure. And we are going to have our medical wants full of patients with stroke because of poor our patients.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. We also have another doctor on the line.
Let them call us for discussions on the table. We will put it right on them. Because where they are seated in the offices, they have different information from what Mwananchi has on the ground.
Vertical ground is different.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
We have another doctor on the line, right?
Right.
Dr. Kevin is also in Embu County. Dr. Ari, if you can hear us, thank you for speaking to us. What issues are you facing, or what's your experience with the Social Health Authority so far? Is he there, Philip? Dr. Kevin? Kevin, if you can hear us. Well, he can't hear us. But Abdi Mohammed, who is the chairman, respond to this. I mean, this is a doctor who's saying, kuja kwa ground, daktari. You know, the issue on the ground, saying that an MRI would cost 11,000 shillings, that is unheard of. Daktari, you have been a doctor for years. You have run a hospital yourself. Is that realistic?
Yes. So let me explain so that we are on the same page. If we talk about if we are able to provide this benefit and package to the amounts that people expect us to pay in terms of what the market says, then you will find that the money that we have currently is not sustainable. So what's sustainable is what we have put in the benefit and package. And this is what we say, that this document is a live document that keeps on being changed regularly every 2 years to increase or reduce the tariffs and the benefits that are in this document. But when you go to some facilities, yes, not all facilities will accept 11,000, but there are those, including public facilities, that will do the MRI at that 11,000 or do the CT scan at that 6,500. So it's not true that all facilities will charge higher than what is in our tariffs. And the reason why we have this kind of pricing is so that you don't have unsustainable promise vis-a-vis the reality. What will happen is we will run into the problem NHIF was in. You have long-standing debts that you can't pay because you have promised heaven and you are unable to deliver. So we will, for this one, what we have done is we have lived within the means and the collection that we have. But this is not cast in stone. This is a document that is alive, and that's the reason why it's published, so that everyone has or knows exactly what they are entitled to and what is the price.
Okay.
And this is why we have a panel of experts to review regularly. And both professionals, providers, civil society are allowed, or individuals, to engage that panel and take their petition for purposes of reviewing. This is the first time we have a panel of experts outside the institution that's providing insurance, so that it is at arm's length. What they decide is what now SHA will be able to deliver based on their expertise and looking at the numbers. So I think let's also be fair. We have increased the prices from what was NHIF giving. So these prices are higher than what was NHIF.
Okay. Dr. Kevin is back online from Embu. Kevin, let's see this time. Dr. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to have you on the line. So what's your experience with the Social Health Authority so far, with the transition from NHIF into SHA as a medical practitioner?
In my capacity, I would say SHA actually don't like to most of our patients. And I think the problem that we have is that people are not aware. Because, for example, where I work, we've been able to see patients using the same packages. And I haven't received any complaints from any patient. If in any case there has been issues, it's just compliment, because people can actually access services even without some paying for the premium, especially under the primary health care benefits.
Dr. When patients come to you, are you able to offer them that outpatient service end-to-end, including just the diagnostics? Using Social Health Authority?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you're saying is your experience from the previous doctor,
Yeah, Jane Moniki, is quite different.
is different.
It's different. It's different.
SHA is accessible. So you haven't had any patients experience what Jane had mentioned. So far, more or less, it's been accessible.
It's been accessible. The only challenge I think people have is that people actually do not know that these services are available in most of these facilities after this using SHA.
Do you work at a level
And I think it's
5,
because
6, level 4? Where do you work?
Level 3.
Level 3. Are basic investigations covered by SHA where you work?
Yes, we do full hemoglams.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
And other basic tests. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin. Let's look at other people who are also just sending their questions on X. And there are many. And you can also just join the queue, and not join the queue, but just join the conversation. You can go onto our X space, go onto the comment section, write your experience, your question. The Social Health Authority team is also online, and they are able to respond immediately. But let's pick some of them and bring them to the table here.
This is one that I've heard many times, and honestly, I've thought about myself as well. This is Martin Ndung'u says, SHA as currently constituted is not viable. If only a fraction of the bed charges are covered by SHA in the bigger private hospitals, we'd rather opt for private cover. This means SHA will be underfunded as only salaried workers will contribute. It'll eventually collapse. So again, there's a lot of people asking, even if it is mandatory, why do I have to contribute to this when I could get a much more comprehensive cover for more or less the same amount privately? If it's 2,000 shillings leaving my account, higher earners 5,000, even much more than that. If it's that monthly as a premium, it could get you a much better private health cover. So yeah, a lot of people would rather opt out. It's not viable according to Martin Ndung'u. And I know it's not optional per se, but why do we have to opt in?
Value for money.
Yeah, where's the value for money?
Yes, I think, and I agree that we need to do a lot of communication and make everyone understand how universal health works. So the starting point for universal health is that those who earn more have to contribute so that those who are on the lower side can equally benefit. So that is the starting point. And number two is to clarify that it isn't that when you contribute more, then you should get more. Yeah, universal health should be able to equalize so that what we get from the scheme is same across the board. Yeah, so that is another message that I think we need to keep emphasizing, that this is supposed to bring equity to help everyone have an access to healthcare services. So I think it's an area we need to really keep talking about, keep engaging everyone so that people get to know that it's not that when I'm contributing more, so I will have to get more than the other people.
But regardless of how much I contribute, how much is SHA paying for example, bed charges for treatment? Is it sufficient if people still have to go into their pockets?
Now, what you pay depends on the facility of choice. That's one thing. Number two, what we pay also depends on the service you have obtained, and that's why my chair talked of the benefits package and the tariff, which is also something we really are going out to make sure that people understand. So there are services, yes, as our tariffs are today. There are services that you can enjoy, and the SHA will fully cater for them. There could be services that some hospitals are offering at a much higher price than we have put in our package. And I think the chair also mentioned that we have the committee that has been put in place for purposes of reviewing that package and the tariffs. And I would want to encourage Kenyans that as soon as this committee starts working, the feedback you've given us, we have put it together, we shall give them, but it will be important that you also engage with them, let them have your views, and let's see how far we can go in terms of accommodating what your views are. I also want to emphasize on the point my chair had talked about, the issue of the would-be benefit vis-a-vis the cost, because one of the major limitations in provision of healthcare services is the cost. So when we look at the cost, we don't look at cost from an individual perspective, but we look at cost to offer the service to everyone who is likely to need it and for the period. So yes, there are services that could be costing slightly more, but we have tried as much as possible to make the package and the tariffs fit.
Many other questions, but I'm also seeing the kind of responses that we are getting on the X to the questions. Someone is saying, I have a case where someone was informed by the system to be paying 3,400 per month. After appealing, it was reduced to 2,600. They visited SHA offices and they were told that the appeal only works once and that is final. How can an unemployed fellow get such a high amount to pay?
Yes, I know one of my team members, Dr. Tracy, would be wanting to respond to that issue. But before I give Tracy an opportunity to mention something about that, is that I wish to say that our means testing tool is still undergoing. We receive feedback and we try as much as possible to incorporate this feedback into this tool. But I also want to mention something about a misconception. The misconception we also have out here is that people who are not formally employed have no income or have less income. We have a lot of people out here who are not formally employed, but they have reasonable income that can fit into that can support this universal health journey. So what means testing tries to do is to assess your would-be income outside employment, and depending on how you respond and hoping that you give the most accurate responses, then that is how we get to determine how much you can pay. But
are you able to take us through that means testing actually? So
yes.
How do you determine my level of income and therefore my contribution? In this particular case, this person appealed and it was dropped by about 1,000 bob. What are the parameters that you use in means testing?
Yes, let me allow Dr. Tracy who is on.
Tracy is on which account? So as we try and trace Tracy,
yes,
you can respond to this.
Yes, so as Tracy comes on board, I want to say that means testing ideally is a tool, a questionnaire that is designed to pick certain income variables from an individual. So the questions that you are asked are meant to respond to what would be your income levels. So the questions can take an approach of what you spend on a certain item, but then what you spend on a certain item, remember, speaks to your ability. So you are taken through a questionnaire and you respond to questions, and those questions at the end of it are able to give an indication or an assessment of what would be your income. And I also need to clarify that this is only being applied to the people who are not formally employed. Those who are formally employed are paying the 2.75 of their formal income. So it's a set of questions, but largely they are trying to gauge, to assess what would be your income. Income, remember, speaks to expenditure. So the question could be asking about your expenditure, but then income expenditure is a function of your income.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, that helps us to get the answer.
Yeah.
We have Tracy. Okay. We have found her, Tracy Jones. She's live and she has the mic. So Tracy, you have the mic. Explain this means testing method. She's a health financing, healthcare management and leadership person. Tracy, you have the mic. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. as far as the means testing is concerned, indeed, this has been quite an area that has a lot of concerns, and we do acknowledge that there are some issues that may not be so clear as far as the tool is concerned. Looking at the question that has been posed, asking how we are determining the amount that the household or that person should be able to contribute. Since it's a tool that we do use to determine the amount of money that the informal sector should pay, then we have to have some objective ways of determining the amount of income that this person or this household is making from the informal sector, since we don't have a pay slip like for the salaried sector. And that is what has informed the design of the tool that we use, where several variables have been used to try and help to determine the consumption, using the consumption, how the person is spending. Then from there, we are able to see roughly the amount of income they may be maybe at their disposal. And that is what informs the questions that have to be answered in that tool. And those questions are standard ways of determining the expenditure. Further to that, I know what the question was alluding to, the tool giving an amount that seems a bit higher for this individual. And over time, since it's a progressive tool, it's been noted that there were a bit of challenges as far as the accuracy of the tool is concerned. And moving forward, the tool is still undergoing improvement. And one of the areas that is being improved on is to bring in more data from other sources so that we can increase the accuracy. And this means that we are integrating or getting data that is informing the expenditure or the consumption from other sectors, integrating a wider database so that we can increase the accuracy. In addition to the information provided by the individual, then we can have a more objective information. And further to this, I think there's also somebody who would like to respond to this. And
Tracy, to be very honest with you, I have not understood. Did you get anything?
No.
We don't get it, Tracy. and the challenge here is just back to you, CEO. I mean, you've got to find ways of simplifying this message, and we all get to know. So how will my contribution be determined? One, if I am formally employed, there's a percentage of my pay. Okay. If I am not formally employed, how will my contribution be determined? If I'm a member of a household and one member of the household is contributing, do I also have to contribute? All those, you have to, by the way, CEO. Please, this is the homework.
Thank you.
We don't get it. We just don't get it at all.
Right. Let's move on to a few more contributions. I understand we have Rupa online.
Yeah. So the chairperson of the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, Dr. Lishanga, are you there online? You have the mic. All right, so he's not ready. Peterson Wachira is on the line. He's the national chairperson of the Clinical Officers Union. And we talked about that issue of the clinical officers and the onboarding and the challenge that they're having. Peterson, you had the answer from the acting CEO. What is your response to that answer?
Thank you, Latif, and thank you to your co-fixers and everybody who is participating today. And I must start by giving my message of empathy and condolences to Mama Arriana. But other than that, let me say that I think what the CEO is saying is not what is accurate. I must agree that they have now empaneled and they're in the process of training the private practitioners registered under the Clinic Officers Council on how to do the e-contracting, and that we appreciate. But when it comes now to the practitioners, the first list that was shared in early December. At some point, even the CS asked for the same and we shared. It has been shared severally from the Clinic Officers Council because we have been following. The list of the specialists, together with whatever they are supposed to be pre-authorizing, was also shared even after the Director General constituted a team and sat with the council and ensured that actually whatever is in the scope is what is supposed to be there. So there is nothing that has been pending to be shared. We don't understand the deliberate delay, because for us we see it as deliberate delay, and it's really affecting Kenyans because there are many procedures that they are supposed to perform, these clinical officers, that they are not performing. And for those who are performing, they are actually committing fraud because they have to use medical practitioner's number at the levels where they are in to be able to do that. The second issue, and I wish we can also talk about the financing model, because the funding model that we are having, Latif, actually means that we are giving lesser money to the primary healthcare facilities than we did under NHIF. Why? Because for 91% of the facilities at the PHC, we are giving 4 billion. The other amount of the money that we are contributing under SHIF starts from level 4. And that is why probably this benefits package, unless we sort the financing model, we will not be able to get a cure, because the problem is that we have insufficient funding to the PHC. And the only way that we can be able to sort this is by ensuring that that ceiling that we have put at level 4, we open it so that we make more money available to 91% of facilities where most of the Kenyans have to start from and have to be treated, so that then the services that Dr. Mwaneki, I think from Embo, was talking about, can be available at that point. And lastly, I think the issues that mostly are bedeviling the SHA now are operational issues, are purely issues to do with the day-to-day running of the management, and including what our issues are, because we expected after the policy directives were given by the ministry, by the PSRA together with the Council of Governors, which was signed as a resolution and sent to SHA on 14th of January, we expected that they would have complied by now. But the fact that they have not been able to comply from 14th of January to date, and the reasons that the CEO is giving are false reasons, then that means that there's something that they are not telling us. Because in other words, in the public service, that would be called undermining the powers.
Okay, Peterson.
Undermining your supervisors. And lastly,
that was
the last.
How many lastlies do you have, Peterson? Let's stop it there so that then he can respond.
It's important that even at level 3, when you have to admit a patient, even at level 3 you have admissions, you are still required to pre-authorize. And there we also have clinical officers, and there is a difference between empanelment and pre-authorization. The law states that every practitioner should be empaneled. The issue of pre-authorization
Point made, Peterson. Point made. Thank you. He'll respond to that. The acting CEO of SHA and also the chairman of SHA says he'd like to respond to that.
Right.
We have someone else on the line as well.
That's yes, the Kenyan gynae. That's Dr. Simon Kigondu. Dr. Simon, what's your experience with SHA? Let's see if we can. Okay.
Thank you very much, the team, for giving me this presentation. The Kenya Medical Association is an association that has been involved in NHIF and SHA. And KMA was also involved in the transformation of NHIF. Did NHIF need changing? Yes, it did. And Abdi has spoken to it. We needed to separate the person and paneling and giving the people who are to see patients from the person paying. So the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board is rightly the body to empanel, to give the authority to SHA to empanel. The only issue that we have now, and I think is because this discussion, we are taking it out of the context of the Kenyan scenario. We are having the ministers here in this meeting. The Kenya government needs to make the economy of the country affordable so that people do not start complaining about costs. We need the interest rates of banks regulated. We need people to have money in their pocket. And key to that is this payment of NHIF. And SHA cannot inherit NHIF assets and enjoy them, but claim that the liabilities are non-payable. We have had from 2016 health workers and health facilities who have not been paid. And every time you go to SHA, they claim, oh, there is corruption. We have people who have even had their books audited and corrected, and SHA is still not paying. The key message to this is let us have health workers and health practitioners paid. The problem with SHA is trying to rook a ball. They're trying to not pay the NHIF debt, which is the problem. Secondly, let government not equate SHA with universal health coverage. For a long time, Kenya Medical Association has advocated that we get a tax-funded universal health coverage, but they brought SHA. SHA is extracting money from people who are employed, but is not able to collect money from all others. The only way to do that is to have a tax-funded universal health coverage.
Okay.
The people who are civil servants are paying double. They are paying SHA, but the services that they get are not equivalent to what SHA is getting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll have to stop you there. Thank you for your contributions. I'd like to return it. Thank you.
But let SHA pay all the debts and let them stop having
thank you. Thank you very much. Robert Ingasira, we'd like to give you just a moment or two to respond because we're completely out of time. Respond to the last two contributions.
Thank you, and thank you, Wachira, for acknowledging that some of the issues that were put on the table during our discussions have been resolved. At least you are kind enough to acknowledge that.
An honest man.
And thank you also for recognizing the fact that this engagement does not only involve SHA, it also involves the policymakers in the ministry and other players. So I think the issue we have with the clinical officers, and I think I've previously engaged Wachira on the same, and he has partly picked on it, that there is the knowledge gap. And I have personally offered to him and his membership that we need to engage, we need to do awareness, especially around the use of the system. On the issue of the NHIF debt, yes, Haturuki, the NHIF debt is there with us. The law passed the NHIF debt to SHA, and I started by indicating that SHA acknowledges the debt. We are working, doing everything that is possible to make sure that we get the money and we'll settle the NHIF debt. We appreciate that hospitals require cash flow, and that is why we really commit that we are continuing to work with them to ensure that these monies are settled and the hospitals remain stable. Because in our journey to offer health care to the public, we really need the hospitals, and that's why we have to be there. We work with them to ensure that they are stable, they are functioning, and they are able to offer the services. Thank you.
We're going to conclude here and say that this conversation does not end here. If you have, because people have many issues and queries to raise, you can then engage with SHA directly. I think the X handle is @_SHA Kenya, and SHA is SHA Kenya. @_SHA Kenya.
You're allowed because it's been 4 hours and we haven't slipped.
We haven't slipped up.
We haven't slipped up.
_SHA Kenya, that's the X handle. What's the number if somebody would like to call right now and they have an issue?
Yes, if you want to call...
yes, briefly.
SHA, please call us on 0800 720 601.
0800 720 601.
We also have an easier number, 147, but I am aware that the system is being migrated, so I'm sure before the end of the day it will be back. But 147 would be an easier number, only that it might not be available now because there are some change that is happening to make it function better and receive more calls. But later in the day, if you call, 147 is an easier number. You should be able to reach us and we'll address your issues.
Ingasira and everybody else who has joined in from your team at SHA, including your chairman, Abdi Mohammed, then the leadership of the Healthcare Federation, of the Kenya Medical Association, of the Union of Clinical Officers, of the leadership of the private health facilities across the country, and everybody who's joined this XSpace, thanks.
Thank
everybody
you.
Also who's called in. Thanks. Janet?
Yes.
Where are we going to next?
We are going to Winnie Lubembe for Your World. I was just going to say our health sector it's limping and we need to move it out of there and not declare it a national disaster. But there we have Winnie Lubembe, who is coming up on Your World. Winnie, what do you have for us today? Okay, so she'll be joining us in just a few moments. Thank you so much. What a week, what a conversation, what a day. Yes, we've ended on that note of just needing to exhale, but this is how we move. We fix the nation one conversation at a time. SHA and all these other issues, they will, I think, persist, but I think the conversations are offering clarity. Hopefully, it shouldn't be this tedious. It should be something accessible and easy to understand. Many conversations down, many more to go. We start the new month on Monday, and hopefully we'll fix something.
We definitely will.
We will.
Just by turning up, by showing up, we'll be fixing something.
Agreed. One conversation at a time, one heavy conversation at a time, sometimes one light one, but either way, we're doing it.
Yes.
Hatuna option, yun ndio uzuri.
No, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Have a lovely weekend.
Yes.
See you in March.
See you in March. Janet, Eric, and Mariam saying, have a great weekend.
Bye.